guys, welcome back to Sad Dad. My name's Dave Abkary and I am a comedian out of Fresno, California, and this is a podcast where I sit down with my fellow funny friends, my fellow comedians, and we talk about dads. Hi, how's your week been? You doing spooky stuff? It's October, it's Halloween this month. Yeah, if you're in the area, well, first and foremost, let me say first, come to all of my shows. If you're in the Fresno area, they're so much fun. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and Friday, Saturday. Sundays we're at Grog's in Clovis, California, and Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, Saturday we're at DeChico's in Old Town Clovis. So, come out to those. But we do have a special Halloween show this year on the 28th. I believe it's the 28th. Let me double check that date. But it's a special one. We're calling it Dummoween, which Dummprov, which is a friend of this podcast. They're coming out and doing one of their live shows. I'm going to be a special guest on there, and we're going to do a bunch of silly Halloween-themed improv games. And it's called Dummprov because none of us actually know how to do proper improv. So it's really, really bad usually, but really fun and funny, and it's a good time. We'll have a bunch of other local comics up there too. And I lied. I'm sorry. That is October 29th at DeChico's in Old Town Clovis, 7:30. Dummoween, guys. It's going to be so fun. And I'll bet you, I'll put money on one of the guests on the Dummoween show is going to be my guest here today for our podcast, Karmen Geffken, and Carmen's great. This was really, really exciting. It was really last minute. I had another podcast I was going to release this week, and some stuff happened, and it wasn't a real timely manner to release that podcast with that guest. So very last minute, last night even, I hit up Karmen to come on and be a guest today. I actually recorded this with her just a couple hours ago, and she was very gracious and very kind, and decided to be on it. So she came over, and it was cool because Karmen and we see each other a lot. We perform together a lot, but it's hard, you can have a lot of great conversations, while you're standing around waiting for a show to start, and before and after, and sometimes during, but they're usually in a big group. I hadn't really ever had a chance to have a one-on-one conversation with Karmen before, and so this was just a kind of a great excuse for me to get to know her. She's awesome. She'll talk about some of the stuff that she does in the Fresno Clovis area. She does some great shows, and she's doing a lot for the scene. And so I was very excited to have her on, and it's a fun episode. She's funny and really thoughtful about everything, and so that was a lot of fun, and I think you're gonna like her too. There is the lead into this episode. I had two comedians crashing with me. They were doing a run of shows with me. Taylor Evans and Marcus Peveril were in the living room. I record this at my kitchen table essentially, and they were in the living room. And you'll hear them a little at the beginning, talking about our friend Phil, who's a very funny comic here in Fresno. And then we get started. Also too, I do apologize. There are some. There are a couple of audio. The audio gets a little distorted. I'm sorry about that. I just got a new recording device, a Zoom H6, and I'm still learning how to use it. It makes my life so much easier, though, you guys. It's just like plug and play and ready to go. And once I have this thing really dialed in, all those issues I've had before with some of my audio will go away. I mean, all the major issues are gone. I do have to learn how to ride the levels a little bit better, so I'm sorry about that. Just bear with it a little bit. It's not that bad, really. There's a couple of points where my audio distorts, but so let's just jump into it. I've been rambling now for way too long, and let's get into it with my friend Karmen Geffken.
Philip's fucking cool.
I love Philip.
I love Philip.
He's so
funny, man.
Yeah, he's
He's not 21.
No.
That's insane.
He's only like 10 months in or some shit like that.
Yeah. He's and he kind of like, you know, you like hit those like comedy plateaus where you kind of like level up and everything. Like he just kind of like leveled up recently, and he's killing it right now.
Me and him were fucking just talking shit while the show was going on. It was fucking fun as shit.
Well, I'm ready when you are. Yeah, if you're feeling good, you're feeling loosey goosey. Bring your water in case you.
I don't want to sit on your side. I trust myself. Sometimes I spaz out and I'm like,
oh, you're good.
ruin your equipment.
No, you're fine. I spilled a jar of pepperoncinis in my fridge. And every time I open my fridge, it's like the most intense
like
vinegary smell.
Pepperoncinis are good though. Like,
I do like pepperoncinis. Yeah.
I went to some Italian deli. I was in LA earlier this month. And I got some sandwich. I was expecting pepperoncinis to be on it. There's no pepperoncinis. I had to go up and ask for it. And they gave me like a whole cup of it, but I was just like,
That's lame. Yeah. That's lame.
Italian deli. You know, you put fucking pepperoncinis.
How do you leave the pepperoncinis? I just realized I forgot to plug in my headphone amplifier, so we're not hearing ourselves right now because
I don't hear anything.
I'm a dummy.
It's okay.
What is it?
So talk me through your podcast. I've never listened to it. My apologies.
Oh, no, it's okay.
What do you...
Yeah, so we'll talk about you. We'll talk about the origin of Karmen and where you grew up and all that fun stuff about you, just to let the audience get to know you.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about comedy and what you do in comedy,
Okay.
and then we'll get into some dad stuff.
Okay.
Let's ask you.
Yeah.
I don't
I
ever
have a
go into
dad.
it with any kind of like agenda. It doesn't have to be a dad bashing session or anything like that. I never. I mean, some people are. A lot of people get confused when I say "sad dad," like the title of the show. And
Are
like,
you the sad dad or?
well, what it is, I call it that. Yeah, what it is it's sort of like a mantra for me, or like maybe more like an anti-mantra, if that's a thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll give you a sad dad example, which is this is my classic example. This is the example I always use. But like, I'm making dinner for my kid, right? And I'm making some mac and cheese. I'm feeling like, whatever, so just make some mac and cheese. And so I like make the mac and cheese, and like I put the mac and cheese on her plate. And then like I'm like, oh, well, she needs some veggies. And so I'll be like, well, I got some carrots. I'll put some carrots on the plate. And then I'm like, well, she probably needs some fruit too. So I grab like a cutie out of the fruit basket and put that on there. And then I set the plate down in front of her and realized that it's a plate of entirely orange food. Everything is orange.
Everything's orange, yeah.
And it's like, don't be a sad dad, dude. That's so low effort. And it's just like anytime I'm feeling like low effort as a parent, I'm like, don't be a sad dad. And so it's something I've said to myself for like years. And I was like, I think I'll make that like my show title is sad dad.
Just like striving to not be.
Yeah, just try to be better.
That,
and I originally I started off with the intention of like, I was like, well, let me just hear as many stories about dads as I can, and maybe that'll make me a better dad.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure if it's worked.
I'm sure it's worked on some level. I mean, just absorbing as much free information as possible, you do get something out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting. There's like I've had episodes with guests who. Have had great dads, and I've had episodes with guests whose like dads died when they're 3, and I've had episodes with dads like comedians whose dads lived out of the country and they've only met him a couple of times, and so and usually in those situations I'm like curious, like especially if you're a dude, like if you didn't have a dad, like what was your path to figuring out like what masculinity is and means to you, and so and you
have a daughter too, so I'm sure that's just like, I mean, I don't know, I don't have kids, I don't want to have kids or anything like that, but just to like, I always think of myself as like a young girl too, like what the hell was I like at 5 years old? Like, was I annoying? Was I a weird I've heard from a couple of accounts that I was like a very strange child, so I I think it makes a lot of sense for who I am now. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm sure like with your daughter too, it's like there's so much stuff happening in the world and you're just like, okay, well, we're still trying to figure out like the best way to raise kids in general, but then like now I have a daughter and this comes with like a whole like mess of issues that you got to like sort out at some point, address at some point. And then for you as a dad, it's like, okay, well, if I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, how am I supposed to figure out how to do all these things? So I appreciate your quest to
definitely
figure this whole thing out.
And that's why I'm always like really interested in like the female perspective on fatherhood. I mean, to me personally, because it's like, I mean, ultimately I mean, it's going to be my kid someday growing up and telling stories about me. And I'm like, well, what are those stories going to be? Like, you know what I mean? And so I got like really obsessed with that idea for a while. Like what is she going to say about me? Like, was I a good dad or was I a weird dad? Could I have been a better dad? Like, and I'm sure all of those things, you know, are the answer because people are weird and complex and silly and made of pink stuff, but but anyway, I actually started recording you 6 minutes ago, so have fun chopping. It's fine. It's actually good. I have to like explain the sad dad origin every once in a while because I've explained it a few times over the like 30 episodes I've done now, but I don't do it often enough for anybody that's new, so it's good. Thanks for prompting that conversation.
I wanted to know what I'm getting into. What's the feel of the show? What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Cool.
And but now, did you grow up here in Fresno?
I'm originally from Porterville, which is about an hour south of here. It's by like Tulare, by Celia area. If you don't have family there, if you don't have a job, reason to go, there's no real reason to be out there. It's just a lot.
Is it one of those towns? It's like the industry is like prison. You know, like everybody's a prison guard.
Kind of. So the big prison, so Corcoran is like 30 minutes, 15, 20, I don't know. It's close enough for a lot of people work out there. So the Corcoran State Prison, there's a lot of people work out there. The Walmart Distribution Center, that's a big one too. And then the Porterville Developmental Center, which is like a state hospital. Like, you know, they have like in Napa, Tascadero, like those kind of places. So my parents actually used to work out there for a million years. And that's where a lot of my friends growing up, all of our parents worked together. So it was just like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so's mom. Oh yeah, they work together. So it's a very small town in that regard. And I think it's like 50,000 people. Oh, okay. So it's like we have a Walmart, we have a Target. It's like
Are your folks still out that way?
They retired and they moved to Santa Maria a couple years ago. So they got out. It's funny. Have you ever been over there, Santa Maria?
I feel like I have.
It's by Pismo.
Yes, I do know Santa Maria.
It's really
I know
nice.
That, like that 5 cities area. Yeah.
It's really nice. It kind of feels like you're in the valley still because there's a lot of agriculture and there's like foothills and stuff. So you're driving around and you're like, wait, we're by the beach? Like I thought we were still back in like Fresno area. But it's really nice.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Has that of mice and men feel. That's how I always feel on the Central Coast. I'm like, well, that's rad. And so they were working and they worked at the prison, you said?
Yeah, well, it's the developmental center. So it's for people who are like, I don't even want to say like developmentally disabled and then there's other people there too. There's like another side where it's like if you were supposed to go to prison, but you weren't at a certain like intelligence level or developmental abilities, like they can't send you to a real prison because you're gonna get taken advantage of. So it's pretty intense.
Well, fair enough.
It's pretty intense working out there. But
and you said you were a weird kid?
I was a weird kid growing up. According to my mom, I guess I started like reading really early, like around like 3 or something. Like I could actually like, really read something. And what else was she saying? I don't know, just like I guess I was just really quiet. I wasn't very talkative, but when I did talk, it was like, what did she just say? But I went to kindergarten out in Orosi because like I grew up in Porterville, but then we moved out to my grandparents' property. They have property out by like Dinuba, Orosi area. So I went to kindergarten and first grade there for a little bit, and it was kind of like a culture shock when I moved to Porterville when I went to first grade because the school that I went to out there was like very poor. We didn't really have a lot. And the one thing that really scared me on my first day of school at my new school was the bells. Like we didn't have bells at my old school.
Oh, wow.
So like the bell rang to go to recess, and I thought it was the fire alarm. So I started grabbing my backpack. I'm like, don't we need to? They're like, what are you doing? We're just going to recess. I'm like, well, we didn't have bells at my school. It was just a whistle.
That's so funny. I feel like, because I went to a real poor country school, and we got, like, when I was like in 5th grade, they like remodeled the whole school. And I think that's when we got bells. I think it was all just whistles before. Yeah,
the bells and whistles.
Bells and whistles. Yeah, that's funny. And it was one of those like actual bells. It wasn't a like it was like when that bell rang into your new school. It was a bell. It wasn't like one of those tones.
No, it was a real bell, and I was scared. I was like, we got to get out of here. It's not okay.
That's funny. Well, okay. And so you're growing up there, and did you go to high school there too?
I went to high school in Porterville. I went to Menachie High School. Shout out to anyone in the 559 who knows where that is. But I went there.
Were you like were you popular? Did you have a lot of friends?
I wasn't really popular. I mean, how do I like unload all of this? I don't know.
It's okay. It's what we're here to do. Yeah.
I hung out with. Well, I was in like honors classes and stuff too. So I was like with all like the smart preppy kids, and then I also hung out with like the goth kids and the punk kids. Yeah. That was my boyfriend at the time. Like we all just like kind of hung out with those people. So I was kind of bouncing around between popular kids and like the goths. So that's
were you you mentioned the punk rock kids. Did you play any instruments, or were you?
I played piano when I was in 4th grade for like a year, and I lost interest in it, which one of my biggest regrets, really. Like I feel like kicking myself. I'm like, why didn't you stick with it? You could have been good.
Yeah. But I feel that way too as a musician. I like.
Do you play anything? Or?
Yeah, I play guitar, and I was growing up. I was like a percussionist. I did a drum set, and I was in the marching band. I was in the snare. I was on snare. I was a snare
guy.
Snare guy. Yeah. And but like, I mean, all of that ability, I would trade in a heartbeat to play piano, just because it's such a versatile instrument.
It's like one of those instruments where it's like if you learn piano, you can transpose that onto like anything else. Totally. Really. So
and it's like the theory, like being able to like read. You have to be able to read music so much better, and I was never good at that. So.
I lost interest because my teacher, she would, because I had my lessons at like on a Tuesday at like 4:30. I go in there, set it up, start practicing. She gets a phone call, and then she just dips out, talks on the phone for like 20 minutes to her church ladies. She's organizing some kind of potluck for Sunday. She's like, I'll be right back. So she takes off. I'm just sitting there for like 15 minutes doing nothing. And I'm like, well, yeah, no wonder I lost interest.
Yeah,
I do remember she did have a bunch of cats in her house too. So it was literally like just my parents paying money for me to pet this woman's cats and not learn piano.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you mention church? Did you grow up religious or?
Not really.
No.
Well, my mom was raised Catholic, so she went to Catholic school for her whole life, and then she's just like a disillusioned former Catholic, just like, I'm out, peace out.
That's fair.
But my parents were like, well, you should probably get some type of religious exposure. So I went to a church in Springville. It's like above Porterville, so it was a Baptist church. I went up there, and it was one of my mom's coworkers. He was also the pastor up there, so it was like a predominantly like black church, and it was so much fun.
I was gonna say, like,
oh my god,
like going from no religion or no church to like Baptist, that's a big jump. But it sounds like it was fun.
Yeah, my sister was like baptized in a river. Like this was like a mountain church. Wow. Like there's literally like a creek like at the bottom of the church. So she got baptized in a river, and we'd have potlucks and stuff. We would take like extra food. There was like a senior living facility like across the street from us that actually used to be a tuberculosis hospital back in like the 20s.
You think it was haunted?
It was 1,000,000% haunted. Like, oh my god, you just walk in there and you're just like, oh, it's just chills. But we'd go take food to the people over there. But
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And you said you had a sister?
I have a younger sister. She's 24. She lives with my parents in Santa Maria. She's a vet tech. So she tells me horror stories of just like people bringing their pets in. Also, did you know, like, this is just like FYI, like bad news. I don't want to be a bummer. But apparently there's like an increase in people purposefully harming their dogs so that they can get opioids, so they can get pills. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, and like I guess she can tell, like, people bring their dogs in, and it's like, that's not like an accidental injury. That's definitely something that like.
How messed up, man.
Isn't that bad? Isn't that so horrible?
Yeah, wow. That's kind
That's
of
be a bummer, but just like, hey, if you know someone who's doing that, or if you're doing that, you should probably not.
Look out for that. Holy shit. And I know you talk about it a lot in your acting. You mentioned it earlier about having that like stance on not having children. Do your parents ever give you any flack about that? Or are they cool about it?
They're cool about it. I mean, they didn't have me and my sister until my mom was like 36 and 38. So my dad was a little bit older. Yeah, they waited.
Yeah.
So they got married in like 1978.
Oh, wow.
So my parents are older. My dad's 68. My mom's 50.
Holy shit, my dad's 68.
Oh, yeah, 60 something. Yeah, my mom
just turned 70.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
How old's my mom? She was born in 1956. So.
Oh, yeah.
62.
62?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some good math there. You did that so fast. Yeah.
I'm only good at doing math for people's birthdays. Everything, tax return tips. I'm sorry.
And so, growing up, like, at what point did comedy become a thing for you?
Going back to like the whole kid thing.
I'm sorry.
So my parents didn't.
Sorry.
Like I have had like zero. My parents have had zero interest in like, hey, you guys have kids? And no, nothing like that. So I mean, for me, it's just like, sure, I might change my mind someday,
Maybe,
but for right now, oh my god, no.
I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, as long if you feel like you're living a fulfilled life,
yeah, I just feel like that, like having a kid right now would just completely ruin my life. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, just for me personally,
sure.
But I love kids. Like I'm a substitute teacher. Like I
yeah.
really love being around kids. They're fun. My boyfriend has some really great little cousins, and I love spending time with them. They're like my extended family now, and so it's like I love kids. I'm not like a kid basher. It's just in small doses. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
I'm not a kid basher.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in that game. Yeah, you're fine. So comedy though.
Comedy.
You went like growing up. Were you like a comedy nerd, or were you watching a lot of stand up when you were?
Not really. Well, I watched a lot of like SNL growing up with like I would stay up late and watch it with my mom when I was a kid, and just like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like this is like 2002, 2004 era. So whoever the cast with Tina Fey, all those people,
it was
like,
a killer cast
back then.
Yeah.
So I watched that a lot, and then when I was in high school, I would like ditch school a lot, like my like senior year of high school, because I knew I was going to community college. So I'm like, none of this matters.
Right.
So I'm not going to take it serious. So I'd ditch school a lot and stay home, and I'd watch a lot of like Comedy Central like half-hour specials, because they'd have them on like in the middle of the day, like 5 or 6 of them. So I just sit there and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The first time I got into stand-up, well, it was in high school. I was in drama, so that's kind of like performing. That's where I really got into it. We had like a like a variety show. We had a theme. It was TV, so we did like parodies of TV shows and that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be funny to do like a parody of Last Comic Standing, but like the finale. So it's just like it's you or this other person. So it was me and one other guy in my class, and so that was the sketch that we had. It was just me and him doing stand up, and then we had the audience vote at the end, and I won. So I'm like, I guess I'm funny.
I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I was like 17 at the time.
Wow.
So yeah,
you got like such an early start on it. And did it really take hold at that time, or was it just kind of a fun thing you did?
It was a fun thing. I didn't do anything again until like I was 21. That was when I first started. When I moved up here for school, I went to Fresno State. So I was like, I gotta go do something. I don't have any friends. Like I don't, I guess like in college, there's like a 2-week friend window at the beginning of each semester.
Okay.
At least this is how it was for me. Like if you have like 2 weeks to figure out like, hey, I sit by you in class, let me talk to you, or hey, like we're working together on a project. And I was just like losing people in these 2-week windows. I had no friends other than my roommates. I'm like, dude, I need to like meet some people. This is horrible. I'm so alone. And then I was like, oh, what about like open mics? Like, I like write some funny stuff. And then I was looking on Craigslist, and that was how I found it. Was a show in Visalia, and that was like at a Holiday Inn. This is like 2013. This is when I first started doing some more stuff. So yeah, I did a show out there, and then I started meeting people, and then now I'm sitting here talking to you. So.
Here we are. We've made it.
That's
wild. I don't think there are any open mics happening in Visalia right now.
No, this was like 5 years ago. So it's. I mean, you're aware of like the scene here as well. Just like everything, just like you get something going, and it's like, oh, I don't do it anymore, and then I got this. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And what, like for you, like, I mean, obviously you have I'd say you found your voice. I mean, what was that process like for you? Like, I mean, just like kind of developing that, because I mean, I really like you get into some intimate topics, but in a goofy way.
Thank you.
And you know, and I feel like you present yourself in kind of this, it's almost like a distorted kaleidoscope version of Karmen, you know, like where you can see you, but like, you know, you're skewering things so that they're interesting and fun. And like, I mean, what was that process like for you? Was it just getting up and doing it over and over? Or?
Yeah, just getting up there. I feel like there's so many different approaches. Who are you texting?
I know, I forgot to silence my phone. I'm so
it's okay.
Sorry.
No, I just feel like there's so many approaches to doing this. I mean, I've been doing it for like 5 years now. I mean, I'm not like hustling or anything. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I'm grinding, that kind of thing. But it's just been conquering different parts of the whole performance. So, I mean, just going up on stage. And I heard something recently, too, as far as like, I think it was Ari Shaffir, who's on some podcast, who's talking about like women performing in comedy, who's saying that it's easier for women to get up on stage those first times because you're used to people looking at you, just going through life, people just kind of staring at you from time to time. And I guess for some, I don't know, maybe in your experience, when you first started, were you kind of freaked out, like, they're all looking at me, this is crazy, what's going on?
100%. I mean, I've mentioned it before, I think, on this podcast, but like one of the things that I realized about me when I started doing stand-up is like before I was doing stand-up, I was always kind of like the life of the party. I was like, yeah, let's fucking party, bro. Like, you know, and, and I would kind of like hold court and just, and at that time, I never thought of things as jokes. I always called it just being funny. Like, I'm just being funny.
Just goofing around, just having a goof.
And then I found like when I started, like after I started doing comedy, like I stopped being that way. Like in public and at parties, and I found myself at parties. I'm like, I just want to go back here, and like, and I realized like, before I was performing, like before I was doing stand up and performing on stage, I was just performing at parties in front of my friends, and and so.
But it's so tempting to do that.
Yes, right.
I don't know if we're supposed to talk about it as comedians, but it's just like. You have an ability to like get people like into what you're saying instantly. So it's like, how often do you do that?
Right.
And why are you doing it right now? You know? So it's, exactly. I don't know. For me, I'm always just like, if I have to, like at work, like when I've told some of my coworkers before they do stand up, they're just like, what? You're so quiet. Yeah. You don't even seem funny. I'm like, yeah, because I'm at my job right now. Like this is not the time to be, hey guys, like. Yeah. I forget. But you can, like I've caught myself like running bits on like my coworkers. I'm just like,
yeah. You guys are gonna think this is so funny.
It's so funny.
I'm so interesting. Yeah.
It's bad, but it's just like you can do it. It's like it's almost like being a hypnotist. Yeah. In some regard.
Yeah. For sure.
It's
like
weird.
You're just
it's such a weird thing to do.
I mean, kind of the dark version of that. I've experienced it with my friends where they almost get like apprehensive about saying anything funny or interesting. They're like, well, I mean, I'm not the comedian, you know, but like you would know. And I'm like, no, like, you're funny. Like you know, you can tell jokes around me. You know, I mean, I have my friend Shannon. She's so funny. She's so mean. Like, she's a little bit like Tanya.
Tanya Salzer.
Yeah. Tanya Salzer, ladies and gentlemen. But like, she'll be like, why don't you put that in your act, Dave? Every other thing I say, like, is that in your act? Is that like just? She's so savage. I love her. But good. I think we're good and warmed up. You ready to talk some dads?
Yeah.
You have a dad? You mentioned him a couple times now.
I do have a dad.
And I always kind of like to start just right from the beginning with like right from the beginning.
All right.
And it's okay if you don't know, but like where did your dad grow up?
Okay, so my dad is. Well, he was born in Akron, Ohio on January 17th, 1950.
Hello. Wait, January 17th?
Yeah.
Holy shit, my dad was born January 14th, 1950.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
My dad loves the fact that he has the same birthday as like Jim Carrey and one of the Belushi. Is it Belushi? Yeah.
Oh, wait, my dad's July. I'm sorry.
July.
I'm sorry.
The other J.
Yeah, your dad's actually a little older than my dad.
He's a little older.
But yeah, okay, he's got the same birthday as Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim Carrey.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's like, and my dad's a really funny guy too. That's probably where I get most of my funniness, I guess. My mom's really funny. My parents are just like hilarious people. They're very dark.
Oh, okay.
Like they're not afraid to just like say some really not offensive, but just like wow, guys.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, but they're fun. So my dad, his dad, so my grandfather, he was in the Navy. He was a chief in the Navy, so he moved around a lot. So this was back in like the 50s, 60s. Then he wound up living in the Bay Area for a little bit, so like in Sunnyvale, and then in Lemoore. That's where he went to high school, over in Lemoore High School over there. But he is also a musician, so he was in bands and stuff for like most of his life. He plays bass.
Oh, your dad?
Yeah.
So, cool.
So he's a musician, and when me and my sister were little, because like my dad, he worked at the state, but then he was also in a band. They did like they played car shows, weddings.
Yeah.
Like, they did like blues, surf rock, that kind of classics. Like
dad rock.
Yeah, dad. Oh yeah, like hardcore dad rock. So me and my sister, we would go with them, and we were basically like the roadies. It was like, carry the mic stand, carry this bag of cords.
Yeah,
so like, you know, we would help him out with that too.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Was he? I asked this about you, but was he like the popular kid growing up?
I don't know. I mean, he definitely was well liked amongst his friends, from what he's like told me, and you know, he's in bands and stuff too. So you know, you're meeting all
sure,
bunch of people, cool guy. So
and like was he doing any kind of sports or anything like that? Or?
He played football in high school. No, not football. He played baseball. Just kidding. So he played baseball in high school as a pitcher, and he said by the time like he graduated, he basically blew his arm out from pitching, so he couldn't really take it to like that next level or anything. But then he wound up going into the Navy, and that's where he met my mom in Okinawa. They were stationed there. So this was way before like me and my sister were born. Because like I tell people like my parents were in the Navy, and they're like, oh, did you move around a lot? Like, no.
yeah. No, not really. No, at all. Well, that's great. And so he grows up. He's playing music. He's playing baseball. He's popular. Joins the Navy. Meets a woman in Hawaii
or Japan.
I'm sorry. And then just sailing the world together in the Navy, or what?
Well, the irony of the whole thing is like the way that like my parents met. They met stationed at the hospital. They worked. They're hospital corpsmen, so they worked on like the mental health side of the hospital. So they're involved in mental health for like most of their life. So my mom, she lived in out by Dainuba, where my grandparents lived.
No shit, they meet in Japan.
They live like less than an hour away from each other. Yeah, and so she was like, she didn't believe my dad at first. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm from Lemoore, and she's like, let me see your like driver's license. And they pulled it out. He's just like, oh no way. So
that is wild.
Yeah.
And so did they? How long were they in the Navy? I mean, did they do like a whole?
I think they
career.
I'm not sure, but I think it's like less than like 8 years, like 6, whatever, like the general, like
sure.
Yeah, they weren't trying to be like career people.
And so like there's this big gap of time, obviously from like when they met and how soon did they get married? Do you know?
I think pretty quickly, because my dad was being stationed, I think in like Texas or Virginia or something. So if my mom wanted to go, they had to get married. So they got married in Vegas, like a real quick thing, and then had like a little party after. But I think that's I don't know, maybe just because like I'm growing the way like I've grown up, I haven't had any like huge influences from my parents directly to like get married, have a big wedding, go buy a house, have 4 kids. They're just like, take your time.
That's great.
So for me, like, I don't know. I don't know about other people's lives, but I know like having a family influence is so important for some people, and it's like it shapes you.
Yeah, right.
Like for your own life. And that's just what I've gotten from my parents. They're just like, you know, take your time. We're in no rush for any of this. You don't have to be there. Like you turned out okay. So all right, fine.
Everybody's doing great.
Yeah.
So like there's like this big gap of time.
Yeah, there's like 15 years. Yeah. 20 years.
And so like do you know like what they're doing in that time? Like
they moved back to the States, and then I think my dad they were still stationed in like Virginia and Texas, and then they got out, and then they lived in San Diego in the 80s. They were down there.
Well, what a cool time to be in San Diego.
It's a very cocaine heavy time to be in San Diego in the 80s. A lot of coke. But my dad, he was in band still, so he was playing with band.
Oh,
and this
yes.
was like bar, like an 80s
like
bar
fucking
rock band.
San
in
Diego in the 1980s, just jamming out with some dad tunes in bars. Like, that sounds like an amazing life.
Yeah.
And are they still involved in mental health at that time?
I believe they were. My dad, he was working at some type of like care home. That's usually that's what like they did. Like my mom worked in some type of like hospital situation. My dad worked in some type of like care home, psych tech facility, something like that. So they kind of bounced around a lot with jobs. But
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And I only take this detour when the moms sound really interesting. But tell me a little bit about your mom too.
Oh yeah, my mom's a crazy person, but she's great. Same thing. She's like oldest girl of 5 kids. So she basically, this was like 60s. So she bounced around a lot too. Her dad was in the Navy.
Sure.
So she bounced around a lot too. Hawaii, California, like Seattle, all these places. And she's retired as well from mental health. I just kind of like had a brain fry here. I'm like, I'm like, who's my mom? But she's a writer. That's what she spends a lot of her time doing, writing short stories. And she's working on like a novel. She's been working on it for like a million years. And she recently got into like these websites online where you can critique other people's writing. So she has like a writer's circle that she goes on these websites and like edits people's stuff. And like she's telling me, oh yeah, I have a friend from Norway and we were swapping stories online and stuff. It's just really fun. So that's what she likes to do.
That's great. I'm the worst at reading my friends' stories. Like I have like a script in there like sitting on my desk right now that I was supposed to read like a week ago, and I have to read it all tonight and have a bunch of notes for it, and it's just hard.
Is it long, like the script?
It's like 32 pages. Yeah, I mean, I know it. Like, I mean, it's a project he and I have been working on for a long time, so I don't think there are any like surprises in there. Okay. It's just how it seems so daunting.
Yeah, well, just set a timer on your phone.
That's what I need to do.
I'm trying to do that too. Like I have so much stuff going on, and I'm like, I am not organized, and I'm a procrastinator at heart.
Yeah, right. Well, and the thing is like I can like really allow myself to get so involved. It's like, it's not like I'm doing nothing, but it's like I'm not necessarily prioritizing the right things, and so it's like I can kind of fool myself into thinking I'm being productive, and I am, but I could be so much more productive if I,
the more productive part. Yeah. How do you tackle that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could just if I wanted to, I could just let comedy and running shows and all of that just swallow me whole, and but there's so many other things I should be doing, and
well, get on that script, buddy.
I need to. He's already read mine because we were doing, because it's like an episodic thing, and he wrote the first one and I wrote the second one, and we swapped, and he's already read mine. He's got a ton of notes for me, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Gotta get on his level.
The worst part is I kind of owe him one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's already taken the time to do my shit. Anyway, but so like your folks are retired now. And how long have they been retired? Is it
like a couple years?
Yeah. How did that? Because I found that like when retirement rolls around, it seems like there's like two very different types of people. There's like people that take to it like ducks to water, and then there's other people that like can't like deal because they don't know how to be a person without working, do you know where your like parents fall in those two?
They moved to the Central Coast area because that's where they love spending like most of their time anyways, like going to the beach.
Sure.
So that's what they've been doing is just going to just sit on the beach, go fishing. My mom will like take a notebook and go write stuff. My dad goes and fishes. They have their 2 dogs just hanging out. So I mean, for them,
life sounds amazing.
Yeah, they just work and the jobs that they work too. Like they told me stories of like their job, and just like half of these I couldn't even tell you right now because it's like
sure. It's just some intense.
It's very
stuff,
intense.
Huh?
Yeah. Working in that field is like a very intense thing. Like when my dad retired, he would get calls from some of his coworkers like, hey, like we need you to come in because there's like a certain client. Like he was the only one who could like really get through to him, and they're like, oh no, Dave's gone.
Oh, is his name Dave?
Yeah, his name's Dave. Yeah,
I love him even more now. Well, that's cool.
But they're just chilling. Like they are very happy with being retired.
Great. What what did they think of you getting into comedy? I mean, were they?
They're into it.
Yeah.
My parents are like really big fans of just like media, comedy, movies, that kind of stuff. So like they're into it. They weren't just like, no, you're supposed to be a doctor, like kind of thing. Nothing like that.
Right.
I think too, because like I've always been like a very ambitious person. I've always been like goal focused. And if I have a goal for myself, like I'm gonna make it happen in some way. So I think for them, like okay, yeah, she can do this. It's not just like if I wasn't the type of person to begin with where I couldn't handle, like, you know, it's for those of you who aren't comedians, it is such a weird thing to even attempt to do. It's just like, I don't know.
It is a silly.
It's like, kind of a silly thing.
It's kind of silly,
but it's really rewarding. Yeah. It's really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I kind of like it too. That it kind of bucks that whole stereotype of having to be like the tortured soul to be a comedian.
Not
you know,
really.
Because I mean, I have, you know, it's a similar background to you in that, like, my parents are still married, and I, you know, and they were real supportive growing up. They're real supportive now. But I think at the end of the day, it's like either you have it and you want to do it, or you don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really matter, like, you know, what that background is, you know. And I feel the same way about bullying too. Like, a lot of people are like, well, bullying made me a more interesting person. I was like, well, I don't know. You probably would have been an interesting person either way, or maybe you wouldn't have, you know.
Or you're just interesting enough to turn that experience into something relatable, or like, oh, maybe I went through that too, but now it's not as bad for me. So it's like it's maybe not the thing you went through, it's your ability to turn it into something else.
And if it wasn't bullying, it probably would have been something else.
Yeah.
You know, and so I kind of I've never been a big fan of that, like, trope of people saying that you have to come from this, like, awful place to be funny and be
I'm sure it helps on some level, but if you just have an ability to see the world in a certain way, and you want to tell people how what you think, then go for it.
Absolutely. Cool. We flew through this. It went by really quick.
Wow.
This is actually the portion of the show where I ask for a dadecdote. Yeah, so just like a fun memory or a profound memory of, like, you and your dad. Just something that, like, maybe, like, really sticks out in your mind from your time with him.
Trying to think. Well, this is a funny story about when I was born.
Okay.
And my name's Karmen, but I'm Caucasian, so it's kind of a people sometimes ask, like, oh, are you Mexican or are you Hispanic? I'm like, no, it's just parents wanted me to have an Italian name, I guess. So if I was a boy, I was supposed to be Carmine.
Oh, interesting.
So a girl, Carmen.
That's a name I don't hear.
Yeah, Carmine. They wanted me to be like an Italian mob boss.
That's
I guess
so
that
funny.
was what they wanted me to be. But when I was born, my parents are, you're in the elevator at the hospital walking out, and then another couple gets on the elevator too, and they're like a Hispanic couple. They just had a baby too, so they're both just like, and I guess the other couple couldn't speak English very well, but they're just like, oh, like, what's your baby's name? And the guy was like, what would they say? It was like Brittany. And like, Brittany, that's our baby. I'm like, oh, and then they're like, what about you? They're like, Carmen. And they just started laughing. They're like, what is happening right now?
Way off.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So I thought that was like a cute
Does your
memory.
sister have what's your sister's
My sister's name is Lorna.
Lorna?
Lorna.
That's I
like
like
the
that.
cookie. Like Lorna Doone.
Yeah. Lorna. And I don't know. It sounds like it always reminds me of like a Jane Austen character.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there was there a Jane Austen character named Lorna?
It's very like I guess like English, Irish, whatever. I don't know what it is.
What's Geffken? What's the
Geffken is Austrian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
my grandpa. On that side.
Did they immigrate over here?
His mom did from Italy at some point, and then my mom's side, her maiden name was Rambowski, but when they came to America, they shorten it to Ramber because to make it more American.
That happened with us too.
Oh, yeah. Are you guys Armenian?
Yeah, Armenian. Yeah. We came over, like, my family came over, like, during World War I, during when, like, the whole genocide thing was going on. Genocide thing. Yeah.
It's real. It really happened.
But this is the dumbest thing. Like, I think at that time, our last name was like Daldabanyan or something crazy like that. But what was happening was the Turks, if they would find out that a family had a relative in America, they would ransom that family, that Armenian family, back in Armenia.
Oh my God!
And so a ton of
So
Armenians,
what was that? They just get a letter saying we have your cousin.
Yeah. And hang on one second. Okay. I'll come back for that. Thank you, sir. Sorry, mailman.
It's okay.
And so, like, a lot of Armenians, when they came over to America, to prevent that from happening and make it harder for the families to get tracked and traced, they would change their last names.
Oh.
And you know, the real common, like, suffix in Armenian names is that IAN, that Abkharian and Daldabanyan and all that. And, which is sort of like the Armenian equivalent of, like, son.
Son, okay.
You know, like Peterson would be son of Peter, like that type of thing. Well, my grandfather comes over, he's got to change his name, and his first name is Apkar. And I don't know if he just spazzed out or whatever, and they're like, what's your last name? And he says, like, Abkharian.
Abkharian?
Yeah, so basically it's like, what's your name? John. What's your last name? Johnson.
John Johnson?
Yeah, John Johnson. Okay.
All right.
And
sure.
so I always laugh about that. I just picture my like great grandfather just like totally forgetting that he had to like change his name, and at the last second.
Yeah, there's like a line of people behind him, like, come on, man. He's like,
Yeah. So, and then we've been stuck with that, but I don't know if that's really the story. But as far as my like family canon is concerned, that's what it is. My great grandfather was a total spaz. Well, Karmen, you've been a ton of fun today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, totally. Well, tell the people where they can find you if they want to find you on social media.
Can I grab my phone real
quick?
quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I have dates.
Oh, yes.
I know, I actually have dates now.
Yes, do it.
Okay, let's see. Well, November 3rd, this is Saturday, I'll be at Strummers. So you're hosting that as well. We'll be there.
It's going to be so fun.
I'm really excited.
I'll definitely have to put this episode out this week.
There is a timestamp on this episode.
Yeah.
Let me see what else do I have. November 7th, I'll be in Hanford for Trent Babb's
sure.
show. I don't know what it's called, but it's in Hanford. And I'll have it on my social media. And then November 8th, I'll be at Full Circle Brewing for Savage Cinema Club.
Yeah. That's so fun with Evan.
Yeah, with Evan. Yeah. And then Andrew, my boyfriend, he's hosting as well. We're doing Ninja Terminator.
Yes.
Which is a crazy movie. It's on YouTube.
Is it?
That's why. So we're switching to like public domain movies, so we don't have to like do any licensing fees.
Oh yeah, because that's a pain.
Yeah, it's not a pain. But it's on YouTube, so we're just like, all right, if they don't care, then
perfect.
Neither will we. And then November 15th, I'll be at Fulton 55 for the Fulton comedy show. Nick Spaglia hosting that.
Yeah.
Renee Vaca is going to be on that too. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Renee Vaca is so funny. I met him for the first time a few months back, and super nice guy too.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah. And then on November 13th, it'll be 2-Bit Tuesday Comedy Showcase. That's my show.
Yeah.
So we're doing a once a month showcase at the Bitwise Theater in downtown Fresno.
Yes.
Second Tuesday of the month. We got a really great lineup this month. We got 6 comics. It's only $5. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun. Yeah. That's great. And do you have any social media plugs?
And then my open mic Thursday nights.
Oh, yeah.
I know, I just have so much stuff.
Look at you.
Thursday nights at Fresno City Vapor on Bullard and First.
I haven't been able to make it out because Thursday nights are usually my nights with my daughter.
Oh yeah,
but I've heard,
please don't come to this. Please spend time with your daughter.
But like I've heard people have just been gushing about how fun that is.
Yeah, it's really fun. We're at a vape shop,
yes.
Fresno City Vapor. If you are someone who vapes, you should definitely check them out. They're great guys. Ryan and Adam over there, Taro, all the guys over there. Really great.
Right.
Shout out to them for letting us do our weird little open mic. We've been there for like a month now, and it's full steam ahead.
And it's Thursday nights at what time?
7 to 9 p.m.
7 to 9.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. And are you on the Insta and the Twitter?
I am on Instagram at Karmen MG. That's Karmen with a K. And then if you want to check out 2-Bit Comedy, we're on there as well on Facebook and Instagram at 2-Bit Comedy. That's spelled it out, TWO. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Cool.
All right.
Karmen, that was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for driving all the way out here and doing that.
No problem. This is good. Thanks, Dave.
Geffken, everybody. She's great, right? Go check out all her shows. The 2-Bit Comedy Show, the open mic she runs at Fresno Vape. Do all of that. Follow her on Instagram. She puts up some of the funniest promo stuff for her shows. She does these videos, and that's something I do not have the ability to do. And I really, really appreciate the amount of work she puts into the promotion alone is always funny. So yes, guys, check her out, follow her, and then if you want to support this show, a couple of ways you can do that. You can go to iTunes and leave a rating or review on iTunes. I will read your review out loud if you do that. And then there's also the Sad Dad Patreon if you want to support this show with a couple of bucks a month. I'd love you forever for it. Helps me pay for things like expensive audio equipment. And then... and you can email me your dadictotes at saddadpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll read those out loud for you too if you're inclined to do so. I've been doing sober October, you guys, and I haven't had a drink in 24 days now. Oh boy, doing all right. I'm not thinking about it as much anymore, but man, some Jameson does sound good from time to time. I went to Denny's last night. I've also been doing the keto diet. It's been working really well for me so far, but oh man, we went to Denny's after the show last night, and I ate a bunch of garbage food. And it sucks when you don't have alcohol to blame for that. Yeah, it's hard. I felt like garbage this morning. It was awful, but it was so good. It was so good. I hadn't had like a carb, I hadn't had like a French fry or like a hamburger bun. And so long, it was making my brain tingle. It felt good. So, all right, guys. Well, have a spooky rest of the month. Come out to Dumboween if you can. Again, that's October 29th. That's going to be so much fun. And come out to all the shows. Come out to every show. Come out to a show. Come out to one show. And I promise you'll have a good time. And you don't have to come out to every show. I don't know. That's too much. I wouldn't come out to every show. That'd be exhausting. I go out to every show, but it's because I have to put them on and produce them and host them. But come out sometime. We'll hang out. We'll have if it's in November, I'll have a drink with you. Well, yeah, we'll have a drink. Or if you don't drink, we'll drink some Diet Coke together. I like Diet Coke. Yeah, that's really bad for you though. But booze is bad for you too. What am I talking about? All right, whatever. All right, guys. That's been our show for this week. Next week, I've got a couple of episodes in the can right now. I have a really wild one with the guys I mentioned earlier, Taylor Evans and Marcus Peveril, and we did something I've never done before, which was I had two guests on at the same time, and it is nanners. Let me tell you, it is bonkers and it's wild and it's fun, and I'm not sure if I can release it though. It gets a little name droppy, not like an oh, I know this guy kind of name droppy, but it's like they poke fun at a few comedians that I don't know, and I don't know. Like, it seemed like it was in good fun. I might release it as a bonus episode, but those guys are just so fun. They're so fun to riff with, and I might just say screw it and release it anyway because it's so much fun sitting down with the two of them at the same time. And I also have another really good episode in the can with a comic out of Santa Cruz. Her name is Cree Powell. I might release that one too. So we'll see. I'll mix it up for you guys. It'll be fun either way. And that's it. I think we might have one more Sad Dad release. Let me see. No. Oh, I'm okay. Well, this is the last Sad Dad release before Halloween, so have a happy Halloween. You know? Don't take candy from strangers unless you're trick-or-treating, which for some reason is totally okay. But eat lots of candy. Wear a cool costume. I have to come up with a costume for Dumboween, which is what I was gonna do is I was gonna get a pair of overalls and get like a super 90s like looking shirt with like a curly mullet and then like a red hat with an M on it. And I was going to be Super Mario Lopez, but I realized recently that Mario Lopez has been Super Mario, and so he's been Super Mario Lopez before. And so, I don't know. That seems doesn't feel as original as I thought it was going to be. So, I don't know. I'm up in the air. I was thinking about cutting a hole in a pizza box and being the guy on the pizza box because, I have a mustache. And so, I don't know. We'll see. But either way, that's it. Dumboween, October 29th. Going to be so fun. And you guys have a happy Halloween. And that's it.